The Better is an oct column by writer Lincoln Anthony Blades, debunking fallacies regarding the politics of race, culture, and society, because if we all knew better, we'd do better. We are 1 year removed from the election of Donald Trump, the man recently referred to as America's first white president by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Trump, a straight white man, rode into office on his presumed notion of supremacy and has since presided over some of the most troubling policies of our time. In the most recent series of local and state elections since Trump's rise to power, Democrats secured large progressive political victories. Candidates from marginalized races, religions, and gender identities went from being targets of the Trump administration to being their political peers, smashing through long-held glass ceilings. Wilmot Collins became Montana's first black mayor. Vi Lyles became Charlotte's first black female mayor. Danica Roem became the first openly transgender person elected to a U.S. state legislature. Ravi Bala became the first Sikh mayor in New Jersey. Jenny Durkan became Seattle's first lesbian mayor. Andrea Jenkins became the first black transgender woman in America elected to a major city council. The list goes on. https twitter.com The Ricky Davila status 92842028182744678 Yet despite these impressive victories, truly bizarre takes emerged. On November 12, The New York Times published an op by David Leonhardt titled "Democrats, Don't Be Fooled by Victory," in which he pointed out that Democrats did well in areas that voted for Hillary Clinton in the 2016 presidential election, but not as well in Trump-supporting districts. Outside of highly educated suburbs and racially diverse cities, Democrats still do not have an effective response to Trumpism. And they need one, Leonhardt wrote. To build a national coalition, one with the power to pass policies that can help the middle class, protect civil rights and combat climate change, Democrats have to do better in whiter, more rural areas. He argued that focusing on white working-class constituents is the key to avoiding landslide defeats in places like Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, North Carolina, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, and his advice for Democratic candidates was clear: don't focus on race, focus on class. The best news for Democrats is that they don't turn off many suburban and urban voters by focusing on class, he wrote. A day later, Brianna Joy Gray wrote an essay for New York Magazine titled "Racism May Have Gotten Us Into This Mess, but Identity Politics Can't Get Us Out." In it, she argued that racism is central to understanding Trump's election, but that it is class, not race, that is the best basis on which to form the foundation of a progressive coalition. Democrats don't need to place identity politics on the back burner to center the white working class. They need to focus on creating a stronger, multicultural coalition that fights racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, and all forms of bigotry while advocating for policy that helps all Americans. That the group should practice more progressive pragmatism is not new advice, but it's alarming to hear pundits push that message in the wake of such big wins, especially when there is so much more room for candidates to grow a multicultural voting base. It's a wildly flawed argument for many different reasons. Firstly, many among the white working class care more about cultural displacement than the economy. Behind class versus identity arguments lies the oft-propagated falsehood that the majority of the white working class don't give a damn about identity, just earning a decent living and providing for their family. The narrative doesn't stand up. A survey by the Public Religion Research Institute and The Atlantic last spring revealed that many in the white working class harbor fear about cultural displacement, a roundabout way of describing fears concerning immigrants and people of other races, more than the economy. What motivated many Trump voters was fear of diversity. Even higher education is seen negatively among them, and not primarily because of student debt or the wage or qualification crisis that many graduates are facing, but rather because campuses are more diverse than ever before. How Trump succeeded with voters was by effectively combining race and class issues. His supporters believe that their economic troubles are rooted in bad immigration policy or anti-white affirmative action. But it's problematic because those in the white working class who care deeply about the identity politics of whiteness continually ignore the factual privilege they hold over the minority groups they resent. According to a poll by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, 55% of white Americans say they believe discrimination against white people exists. In order for Democrats to win this group over, they would need to effectively address that fallacious concern, meaning they'd have to adopt the falsehood that white folks are being disproportionately victimized by policy, and then assist in targeting the culprits, meaning minority groups. In reality, non-white people are the ones who are most hurt by Trump's policy, and they also make up an important election-swinging voting bloc of the Democrats' base. That's not how you grow your party, it's how you desert your most loyal core and disrupt its future. By 2018, the entirety of the millennial generation will be able to vote, turning their backs on America's most diverse generation ever to embrace the falsehood of collective white economic anxiety as a formula for losing. If Trump ascended to office on the backs of voters who explicitly care more about race than class, you can't build a class-based coalition with people who see Black and Latinx people as the reason they are suffering. https twitter.com Angry Black Ladder Status 9369862404690247768. These articles and this logic assume that most Trump voters are suffering from economic inequality, which could make them open to building a class-based voter alliance of poor Americans of all races willing to stand together against corporate plunder. But most Trump voters don't represent the class. He was elected by white voters, the only racial demographic that he won, of all classes, many of whom are in economic brackets well above the working class. A NBC News SurveyMonkey election tracking poll from April 2016 showed that two-thirds of Trump's supporters come from households with incomes over $50,000 a year. What's more, 60% of non-college educated Trump voters are in the top half of income distribution. So whether educated or uneducated, the majority of Trump voters are not hard up. The more effective approach for Democrats to appeal to a broad voting base would be to address class and identity. Without multicultural coalitions, the party will lose, period. Drawing a moral party line that says intolerance won't be tolerated is not a death blow to liberal political advancement. It should be the basis of a growing multicultural American society. People of different races, religions, and gender identities are represented in every single socio-economic class in America, and white working-class citizens do not face any single economic tragedy that minorities don't. Inclusivity doesn't exclude or aim to hurt anyone in the white working class, it just ensures that they are included equally with everyone else. And data fails to suggest that the Democrats need a radically different platform, either, because the value of the white working class has been greatly overstated. According to CNN, Clinton received more votes than any losing presidential candidate in U.S. history, and Trump's Electoral College victory came down to the 79,316 votes for him in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin that got him to 270 Electoral College votes. It makes more sense for Democrats to fight voter suppression than it does for them to spend any significant amount of time and money trying to convert deplorables into Democrats by addressing their economic anxiety. Lastly, these analysts must realize that the go-slow logic doesn't work concerning matters of race. When asked about the state of America's racial progress in 1964, Malcolm X said, "If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. If you pull it all the way out, that's not progress. Progress is healing the wound that the blow made. And they haven't even pulled the knife out, much less heal the wound. They won't even admit the knife is there." Avoiding difficult discussions and promising to engage in those conversations at a later date is a failure when that time never comes. Both Leonhardt and Gray invoked President Barack Obama as the representation of a Democratic politician who effectively centered economics over race. Yet while Obama did focus more on class inequality than race, a great number of white Americans rallied around their hate of his melanin, blackness also shared by his family. In their pieces, both writers fail to note that Obama lost the white vote in both of his presidential campaigns, but also that Trump's election was a direct reaction to the first black president's time in office. It's even been called the white lash. To ignore the knife resting in the back of marginalized Americans is not the key to Democratic success. In fact, when Trump's oppressive policy targets racialized minorities and vulnerable citizens of different identities, the knife twists. But the nation has shown what it wants and demonstratively shown they're fed up with the current administration. Since Trump's rise to power, people have packed airports around the nation to confront his anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim policy, held massive marches to protest his sexism, and staged nationwide demonstrations on numerous other issues, some even right in front of the White House. The recent elections, which resulted in many cities electing their first black, Asian, Sikh, and transgender politicians, was just a taste of what the nation is ready to see. So why, at such a pivotal social moment, should the Democrats think about quieting those voices in order to attract antagonistic Trump voters? The political key to future Democratic victories is not running away from racial reconciliation and equality but embracing it. They must realize that decent Americans of all colors are willing to politically stand up to intolerance, just as we're doing in the streets every day. Related how the Democratic Party has changed since the 2016 election. Check this out.